Let us both renounce the world. Honor is banished out of it. If it flatter us one day, it betrays us the next. Let us abandon our dominions and go into foreign countries where we may lead an obscure life and conceal our misfortunes. Where is that from? That's one of my favorite quotes from the Arabian Nights. And I wanted to read that to help us all kind of get in the frame of mind for my topic. I basically want to talk about, I want to read first paragraphs of some of my favorite books so that we can take a time. I don't really have anything necessarily to say about them as a group, but to put our focus on, basically there's the same thing happening for each of these paragraphs. That is, the writers who wrote them, they were in the same situation. They understood that what they were doing was, the first paragraph is like, if you're going to build a restaurant, this is going to be the entryway. This is going to be the sign on the front. This is going to be the stone walkway leading up to the doorway. This is the welcome page to the story these creators were trying to write. And we writers, we find ourselves in the same situation. We understand that the opening paragraph is a different situation than once the story progresses. So it's interesting. Here are these great writers all faced with the same problem, not problem as in something's wrong, but more along the lines of problem like a math problem. They are faced with the same writing challenge, and that is to write an opening paragraph. So let's go ahead and take a look. Let's open up these books and read them as a group and contemplate what these different individuals were trying to do when each of them faced this writing challenge. And keep in mind, the title of the book is also part of that facade, part of that entryway. If the chapters have titles, title of the chapter and the opening paragraph, those are parts of a story where, to me, the word poetry comes to mind. This is an opportunity for all of us, fiction writers, romance writers, prose writers, autobiographical writers, literary journalists. We can all become a little bit of the poet when thinking of a title and even an opening paragraph. Also, please keep in mind, I'm making this video like I do most things, that is, jumping into something without knowing completely what I'm doing. So I haven't chosen the best paragraphs. I just wrote down books I remember. Okay, let's start with Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Now, this is one of my favorite books. If you've watched any of my other videos, this is probably the book I mention most. Let's give it a go. Frankenstein, Chapter 1. I am by birth a Geneverse, and my family is one of the most distinguished of that republic. My ancestors had been for many years counselors and syndicates, and my father had filled several public situations with honor and reputation. He was respected by all who knew him for his integrity and indefatigable. Okay, Google. Indefatigable.
a person or their efforts, persisting tirelessly.
For his integrity and indefatigable attention to public business. He passed his younger days perpetually occupied by the affairs of his country. A variety of circumstances had prevented his marrying early, nor was it until the decline of life that he became a husband and the father of a family. Okay, interesting. This was not written in our time. This is definitely a good example of thick writing. I love this book. So I want to go into my little commentary about my thoughts about it, but for the point of this video, I'm just going to refuse to do that. I'm just going to read the chapters, and this is a situation where we can all contemplate opening paragraphs. Okay, the next one is probably my favorite autobiographical work by one of the bravest individuals of my beloved country, America. It is the autobiography of Malcolm X, Chapter 1, Nightmare. When my mother was pregnant with me, she told me later a party of hooded Ku Klux Klan riders galloped up to our home in Omaha, Nebraska one night. Surrounding the house, brandishing their shotguns and rifles, they shouted for my father to come out. My mother went to the front door and opened it, standing where they could see her pregnant condition. She told them that she was alone with her 3 small children and that my father was away preaching in Milwaukee. The Klansmen shouted threats and warnings at her that we had better get out of our town because, quote, the good Christian white people, unquote, were not going to stand for my father's, quote, spreading trouble, unquote, among the good Negroes of Omaha with the back to Africa preachings of Marcus Garvey. So I guess I'm not going to give commentary about opening paragraphs, but I would say that as far as an autobiographies go, this Malcolm X's autobiography reads like an adventure. It isn't just marching through the facts of his life. It's a story. It's an engaging story through and through, and a great read. I highly recommend it. One of my favorites is Gorky, and the collected short stories of Maxim Gorky. What a great read. These adventure stories about the horse-drawn carriage gypsies roaming through Russia during the industrial age. It's another world. It's amazing. So forgive me if I mispronounce any of this. The title of the first short story from this book is Chelkash, Chelkash. Darkened by the dust of the dock, the blue southern sky is murky. The burning sun looks dusky into the greenish sea, as though through a thin gray veil. It can find no reflection in the water, continually cut up by the strokes of oars, the screws of steamers, the deep, sharp keels of Turkish felakas. Okay, Google, define felakas. Felucca.
Felucca.
Felucca. Felucca. I feel like a bird flying around. Okay. A small vessel propelled by oars or lateen sails or both, used on the Nile and formerly more widely in the Mediterranean region. Yeah, I was on one of those the other day. Okay, Turkish felucca and other sailing vessels that pass in all directions, plowing up the crowded harbor where the free waves of the sea, pent up within granite, what a great word, pent up within granite walls and crushed under the vast weights that glide over its crests, beat upon the sides of the ships and on the bank, beat and complain, churned up into foam and fouled with all sorts of refuse. That is poetry. Oh my gosh. That is a great... Okay. Refrain from commentary. The next one, in my mind, in my subconscious bookshelf, I place this book right next to The Catcher in the Rye. To me, these books are... They are like companions in spirit. These books are... I really put those two together. Can you guess which book I'm talking about? This is Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. And by the way, me personally, if I see the word forward or introduction, I skip it entirely. My life is so much happier by skipping over these. If I really enjoy a book, I might go back and see if there's any interesting content in those. But every time I've attempted to read introductions, to me it seems like it's afterthought that they should be put at the end of a book and not at the beginning. Personal opinion. The Bell Jar. Chapter 1. Just the number 1. It was a queer, sultry summer, the summer they electrocuted the Rosenbergs, and I didn't know what I was doing in New York. I'm stupid about executions. The idea of being electrocuted makes me sick, and that's all there was to read about in the papers. Goggle-eyed headlines staring up at me on every street corner, and at the fusty, F-U-S-T-Y.
Fusty, smelling stale, damp, or stuffy.
Every street corner, and at the fusty, peanut-smelling mouth of every subway. It had nothing to do with me, but I couldn't help wondering what it would be like. Being burned alive all along your nerves. So I think everyone should spend a hot summer, one of the hot summers of their lives, reading Stephen King novels. Let's have a look at The Shining. Stephen King. Let's find it and read the first paragraph. Stephen King, The Shining, Part 1, Prefatory Matters. Let's see. Let's find out.
Prefatory, serving as an introductory.
Appropriate. Chapter 1, Job Interview. Jack Torrance thought, officious little prick. Ullman stood 5'5", and when he moved, it was with the prissy speed that seems to be the exclusive domain of all small, plump men. The part in his hair was exact, and his dark suit was sober but comforting. I am a man you can bring your problems to, that suit said to the paying customer. To the hired help, it spoke more curtly. This had better be good, comma, you. This had better be good, you. There was a red carnation in the lapel, perhaps so that no one on the street would mistake Start Omen for the local undertaker. That's damn good. Okay, refrain from commentary. Okay, we've got Don DeLillo's book, Libra. Title to the opening chapter, In the Bronx. This was the year he rode the subway to the ends of the city, 200 miles of track. He liked to stand at the front of the first car, hands flat against the glass. The train smashed through the dark. People stood on local platforms staring nowhere, a look they'd been practicing for years. He kind of wondered, speeding past, who they really were. His body fluttered in the fastest stretches. They went so fast sometimes he thought they were on the edge of no control. The noise was pitched at a level of pain he absorbed as a personal test. Another crazy-ass curve. There was so much iron in the sound of those curves, he could almost taste it. Like a toy you put in your mouth when you were little. And that's what I've got for today. Let me know if this video was helpful. If I put this video to stir contemplation, people interested in writing, giving them a chance to meditate on the idea of opening parts of a book. I'm sure that you have had it caused you to have many ideas about, what is really useful in an opening paragraph. What is good writing? What is enticing writing? What different purposes does an opening to a book serve? Are there solid traditional ways of opening a book, or is it good to really try to get creative and come up with a new something that's going to seem different from the get-go? Let me know. Please leave it in a comment. If you like my videos and want to get me back, please hit the like button, subscribe, tell another writer friend, or aggregate this video through, you can tweet it or Google Plus it. Please take the time to check out my fiction at solomation.com. Put in video episode format, narrated, illustrated, drawn by me. The story Terrible Immunity, bizarre fiction, the adventure, misadventure of poor Lily. Thanks again for watching. I hope you have a really inspiring day today. I hope new ideas land on your brain and get you excited to put the pen to paper, writing those stories. I hope your writing goes well, and have a good day.